Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence, we go after all sides because there's more than one side of the story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun. Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence, we go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything, and you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion, and that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
Alright guys, today's date, January 27, 2021, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I am host most Will Buchanan. On the Frack We Got Here, we do take the events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. Before I do get started, we do try to curb our language here on How the Frack We Got Here. However, there is going to be some things that may actually be of a graphic nature, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. Wow, January 27th. Time's already going by, guys. It's going by fast and quickly. And since we're in the middle of the week, let's just see what the news we got so far. And, Donald Trump and Tom Brady are about to have two things in common. No matter how old they get, we'll never stop talking about them. Especially the simple fact of the matter is that Donald Trump has decided he wants to open up an office of the former president in Florida. He announced actually yesterday that the official opening of the office of the former president will be open in Palm County Beach, Florida, where he currently now resides, which is tasked with seeing the 45th president's official activities in his post-presidency life. Which I think is kind of interesting, because how was he able to tell anybody about this, considering he's been banned from all sorts of social media there is? I mean, did anybody check to see if AOL had banned him? Instant Messenger had banned him? Maybe? I don't know. Either way, the office will be responsible for managing President Trump's correspondence, public statements, appearances, and official activities to advance the interests of the United States and to carry on the agenda of the Trump administration through advocacy, organizing, political activism. President Trump will forever, always be a champion for the American people. Y'all, come on now. I mean, let's really look at this here. It never ceases to amaze me that Dorito still thinks he still thinks, even though he hasn't conceded, even though he'll never concede, he'll still sit there, the election was stolen. He still believes in his mind the election was stolen, even though he believes he is now facing impeachment. He's now about to face an impeachment trial in the Senate. He still believes that he's still the president, even more so that he created an office of the former president, as if that has any sway. And I'm just thinking to myself, how in the blue was he able to pull this off? I mean, seriously. Because of an office of the former president, really? What's he going to do? I mean, the office of the former president is kind of like being the armchair quarterback after you've been taken out the game for throwing too many interceptions. Now you're watching the backup play. Come on now. I mean, at this point, Trump, it's beyond sad. It's just like he still thinks, I mean, in his followers, if you believe that, still believe that he's still a chance that he still might actually get back in office, even though there's no chance. Slim and none, and Slim left town a long time ago. But speaking of new presidents, Joe Biden, and the thing before we get to this whole thing, guys, look, I understand, just speaking from a personal side of things, I know a lot of people are seeing Joe Biden as executive orders. I am just saying this from another standpoint. Give him a chance. I mean, keep in mind, you guys have to keep in mind, though, Biden and Madam VP, Kamala Harris, will have to basically sort out a lot of the 4 years. See, this is what I try to tell people. I mean, look at President Obama. Look at President Obama, for example. President Obama had to undo in one term 8 years of what Bush 2.0 did. So a lot of the things that he's doing may not be all 100%. You may not be on board with it, but there's a method to the madness. At least I believe so. And the more, even more so, that give the brother a chance. That's why I kept telling people, give him a chance because again, this is his executive action so far. Um, that I've been telling people. I mean, he's kind of getting up to, or a lot of people sign executive orders, and he's actually signed a lot of them. A lot of them were, memorizing the free, reversing a lot of the Trump things that were done during his presidency, rejoining the Paris Agreement, executive order to promote racial equality, reversing the Muslim ban, requiring masks on federal property, coordinating COVID-19, which we have a story about that a little bit later. Definitely putting a stop on deportation and revising immigration enforcement policies. Stopping the Keystone XL permit because that pipeline is an ecological disaster waiting to happen, and many more. But the thing about it is, a lot of people really are kind of hung up on the fact that he's not doing what he said he would do, and I'm like, well, what does he say he's not doing? And feel free to say so in the comments, guys, if you like. But again, the man himself is literally trying to, well, first off, trying to steer us out of debt. Well, I'm sorry, not trying to steer us out of debt, trying to steer us out of a COVID crisis. He's trying to get stimulus pay going. He's trying to increase minimum wage to $15 an hour. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be a cheerleader for Biden. I just believe the simple fact of the matter is, let's at least give him 100 days in office, and then let's see what happens from there. That's all I'm saying. Just because of the fact that, like I said before, his list of executive orders seems to be now, I think it's over 45 and counting now. And you can't blame the guy, because again, Congress is too busy trying to impeach Trump, and I actually have a story about that right after this one. But this story I definitely had to tell because, again, and I said this before, it's just, look, I said this before, I'm about to start having a crazy white people segment, because this story is just, I'll just play it.
And if you think I'm gonna have a tell me he's not moving off my driveway?
A racist rant all over a truck parked on the road. Will Osley and Melvin Finley own a moving company. On Saturday, they were in Lee County unloading a truck. That's when this woman, Gina Brashear, got mad that the truck was blocking the road.
Me and him are on the back of the truck. We're still working. We're still unloading the sheets of metal onto the pallet. We start hearing this commotion on the other side of the truck, just getting louder and louder and more intense.
That's the moment when the customer, who didn't want to speak to me out of fear, starts capturing this video. In 30 seconds, Brashear unloading a racist rant.
And if you think I'm gonna have a tell me he's not moving off my driveway, I can use the word oh god mother.
That wasn't it.
Good, the cops are coming. Tell them I called y'all what the ever. I didn't call y'all. I called that fat
say that.
Now for your trailer. I can't say please bring it to me in writing.
She screamed the N-word 6 times in just half a minute.
I've been, insulted before. It's nothing new to me. But this time around, it's a little, I don't know, it just feels a little different. It feels bigger than me.
I went to Brashear's home. She didn't want to come out to talk on camera, but she spoke with me on the phone.
And over the course of the video, say it 100 times in 30 seconds. There's nothing illegal about saying it.
Do you feel that it's okay to use that derogatory word?
Absolutely. Do I have reasons to be racist? Absolutely, I do.
I asked her about people calling her racist online.
One thing you need to get straight from coming from me. I don't care who's upset. I don't care that I'm called a racist.
To Melvin and Will, this is bigger than just affecting them, and they hope it's the catalyst of change.
It's 2021, man. I don't know. We have a very long way to go. We have not come as far as we claim. We have a long way to go.
Ooh, okay. And that was actually in Florida, which I guess I shouldn't be surprised. It's in Florida. White people. There's a lot of y'all. There's a lot of y'all that I don't have to say this, but some of y'all believe you can say it. I think I can speak solely on the behalf of the black delegation when I can sit there and say that word to the wrong one, and you find out very quickly that you will not say it again. Because she was like, I don't care if I'm called a racist. Okay, let's wait for the next story, because if she's got a job, 9 times out of 10, she's going to be let go. If she's got a business, she's going to lose a lot of business, because that's the story with these people. They believe they can be racist and say whatever they want. And again, I don't like the N-word. I don't like using it. I don't like hearing it. But on top of that, whoever you are, you have the right to say whatever you want. You're not absolved of the consequences that happen afterwards. And I keep telling folks, because we've seen video, especially Mr. Twisted T. That's what I call him, Mr. Twisted T. When he sat there and he slapped the violence out of that white boy to where he was nonviolent. And no offense, when you get slapped with a Twisted Tea bottle, plastic can, I don't think you want to fight anyway. But again, in her case, she was just, I mean, it was just amazingly the level of safety that she was. And trust me, white people who say the N-word say it from a place of safety. They were like, oh, you're not going to touch me. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. I got these people around me. You're by yourself. They say it from a place of safety. But I keep saying this to all those who feel comfortable in saying the N-word. Don't. I'll put it this way. You're going to run into the wrong one. And when you run into the wrong one, you will know very quickly. And then you're going to be on the news. And then people like me are going to be laughing at you. Because again, you decided that you felt brave enough to sit there and say a word that is literally derogatory. And again, I shouldn't be surprised because, well, I guarantee she probably was a Trump supporter. And I guarantee that she said, well, I can say whatever I want. Those to me are people that never get consequences. And trust me, like I said, if she's got a business, she's probably going to lose business. If she has a job, and the job finds out that she's on recording, oh, that'll be gone too. To me, it's just a matter of time. We're just going to wait for another. I mean, that was just 10 hours ago. So we're bound to actually see what happens from there. But I personally am looking forward to it. Because, again, if she had said that's the wrong one, we might have had another Twisted Tea moment. But speaking of messed up moments, again, I did mention about the impeachment trial that Trump is going through. And you would think, after Trump calls a riot, you would think that after, he solely put the Senate chambers in danger, and Officer Eugene Goodman actually single-handedly saved the Senate, you would think that a lot of Republicans would be on the side of saying, you know what, we need to impeach this fool because he's a danger. Not Rand Paul.
Senate Minority Leader say that he holds President Trump responsible for what happened, but some of your colleagues are saying that he can't be held responsible for inciting the riot. Take a listen to something else that Senator Rand Paul said on the Senate floor today.
We're not going down the road that Democrats have decided, this low road of impeaching people for political speech. I want the Democrats to raise their hands if they have ever given a speech that says, take back, fight for your country. Who hasn't used the words fight figuratively?
What's your response?
Listen, he knows he's wrong. And stop covering for Donald Trump. We all saw with our own eyes, we heard with our own ears, President Trump and what he did to incite the violence. Then we also heard from all of the people in the riots who spoke up and said that they were doing this because President Trump told them to do so. That's why you have a trial. You present the evidence and then you make a decision based on that. If Rand Paul wants to be President Trump's lawyer, then he's more than welcome to go do that. But frankly, I think the American people deserve to see the evidence presented to them that this president did indeed incite violence, did indeed incite insurrection against our nation's capital.
There we go. So, sorry about that. I had a little bit of a delay in switching. So, again, Rand Paul decided that he's going to sit there and say, well, who else in a speech have used the words take back and fight? And, why should he be held accountable? Rand Paul, really? Rand Paul to me is probably, well, then again, he is from Kentucky, so take that with a grain of salt. But again, what kills me about this is he tried to use the defense of, name me one other person who hasn't used that to say, use those words and wasn't held accountable for a riot. Because anybody else that has used those words in a speech, a riot didn't follow afterwards. And it's amazing to me that, again, Rand Paul was trying to actually he was actually trying to submit a counter argument saying that, we should not pursue this impeachment of Donald Trump in the Senate, which was shot down 55-45, which tells me, which again, it's amazing to me that, I'm sorry, not in the Senate, but in the House. I mean, it was amazing that 45 people still agreed with Rand Paul. Is that not the most shocking number? I mean, truly. Now, don't get me wrong. There were some Republicans that did actually come over to the Democrat side to vote for this, to push this Senate majority, push this Senate measure forward, so the actual impeachment trial can happen. But it is amazing that 45 Republicans still agree with Donald Trump. And keep in mind, for all those that remember the timeline, it wasn't too long ago that the 6th of January, where, again, they were counting to confirm the votes in the Electoral College, Donald Trump had a speech outside of the U.S., near the U.S. Capitol, and sat there and said they're trying to steal the election. They're counting the votes right now, and we need to stop the steal, as you guys have said. You incited a crowd that just happened to be there, and that same crowd stormed the U.S. Capitol. That very same crowd that had been, which the U.S. Capitol did not have the protection detail that it should have had, and yet they stormed the place. How in the world could Dorito not be held accountable for inciting a riot? Because he basically just told his white domestic terrorists, hey, raid the place. They're trying to keep me from being president. Raid the place. What other, I mean, it just amazed me so. And the reason, I know a lot of people are still asking, well, why are we impeaching him? Because he's not president anymore. There's a reason why. Because keep in mind, even though Trump lost the election, currently as it stands, he could come back and run again. And not just for president, he can run for any office. You saw his former lying press secretary, Sarah Sanders, Huckabee Sanders, wants to run for the governor of Arizona. A press secretary who was pretty good at dodging questions now wants to be governor. And Trump has supported her. Again, there is a reason, and I said beforehand, the reason why this impeachment needs to happen, we need to hold Trump accountable. I mean, granted, the New York Attorney General's offices and every other district attorney going after Trump will do that in the legal side of things. But from the other side, we need to make sure that this man cannot hold office again. He has proven time and time again that the man is a threat. He is a danger. So that's the reason why impeachment needs to happen, because it takes away his pension, it takes away his security service detail. Because yes, every president keeps their Secret Service detail, and currently right now Trump keeps his. But if he is impeached, bye-bye Secret Service detail, bye-bye pension, and he can never run for another federal office again, whether it be executive or legislature. He can't run for it again, and that's what needs to happen. That's the reason why this impeachment is so vital. It has to happen. But amazing that 45 Republicans feel it's ridiculous, and the excuse that they give is that, well, he's no longer in office. Doesn't mean that he's still not a threat. So that's the crazy part. But other things that are seen as crazy, because Joe Biden at this point, he damned if he does and damned if he don't by some people. But he actually announced his plans for COVID-19, and well, I'm gonna be honest, kind of bold.
COVID-19 response coordinator Jeff Zients here to work with the Department of Health and Human Services to increase our total supply of vaccine for the American people. And we believe that we'll soon be able to confirm the purchase of an additional 100 million doses for each of the two FDA-authorized vaccines, Pfizer and Moderna. That's 100 million more doses of Pfizer and 100 million more doses of Moderna. 200 million more doses than the federal government had previously secured. Not in hand yet, but ordered. We expect these additional 200 million doses to be delivered this summer. And some of it will come begin to come in early summer, but by the midsummer that this vaccine will be there. And the order, and that increases the total vaccine order in the United States by 50%, from 400 million order to 600 million. This is enough vaccine to fully vaccinate 300 Americans by end of the summer, the beginning of the fall. But we want to make, look, I want to repeat, it'll be enough to fully vaccinate 300 Americans to beat this pandemic, 300 million Americans. And this is an aggregate plan that doesn't leave anything on the table or anything to chance, as we've seen happen in the past year. I've said before, this is a wartime effort. When I say that, people ask, wartime? I say, yeah, more than 400,000 Americans have already died. I think it's 411 or 12 have died in 1 year of this pandemic. More than all the people who died all the Americans who died in World War II. This is a wartime undertaking. It's not hyperbole. And as such, I directed the team to be ready to exercise all the authorities I have under the Defense Production Act and expedite these vaccines. And we're using the Defense Production Act to launch full-scale wartime effort to address the supply shortages we inherited from the previous administration. We're going to be working across the government with private industry to ramp up production of vaccine, the protective equipment, the syringes, the needles, the gloves, the swabs, the mask. Everything is needed to protect, test, vaccinate, and take care of our people. Well, we've already identified suppliers, and we're working with them to move our plan forward. The biggest problem, I hope you're all asking me by the end of the summer, that you have too much vaccine left over. You have too much equipment left over. That's not my worry. I hope that becomes the problem, rather than we somehow find interruptions in supply or access.
And I have to give it to him. That is a very, very bold strategy. Keep in mind, he did talk about the 100 million shots in 100 days. Now increasing that to 200. I can't be mad about that. It's a very bold strategy as far as getting the vaccines out there to people. And let's be honest, he's exactly right. It is a wartime effort. And the fact they're using the Defense Production Act, which a lot of people don't may not know, actually empowers Congress to employ or bring in certain production companies to produce certain items that are needed. They did the same thing in World War I and World War II. I think it was also helping with polio as well. So again, the whole idea of mass producing vaccines to get them out to people, it makes sense. And I've said beforehand, when it comes to the vaccine, when it becomes available in my location and once it's available, I have no problem taking it. I will still get the vaccine shot. I have no issue with it. Because honestly, for all those that may feel differently, what's the alternative? Because at this point, vaccinations is bound to happen. Whenever we've had a major monumental viral outbreak, vaccinations have always occurred afterwards. And this isn't the first time it's happened in history, and knock on wood, maybe the next time will be very many years down the road. But that being said, I do like the fact that he's speeding up the whole idea of literally giving COVID-19 the attention it deserves. Imagine when our cases of COVID-19 were actually 1,000 people or less, or 500 people or less. Had we approached this the same way then as we are trying to do now, we may not be nearly over 400,000 people killed from this. But again, we hope that, like I said, hopefully as vaccinations are ramping up, like I said before, I hope that you guys also do the same thing. Like I said, with a 95% effective rate, for people that want to get back outside and get back to some sense of normalcy, something's got to be done. And waiting around just for waiting for something to happen ain't it. But speaking of other things that are waiting to happen, you know when I sat there and said about all those white domestic terrorists that were in the middle of this riot, that they said they would go after them? Well, wasn't wrong.
Tonight, the manhunt for suspects in the Capitol assault is intensifying.
We have identified more than 400
400 suspects in the breach of the Capitol and assault on law enforcement officers.
And the U.S. Attorney says his office is considering charges of conspiracy and sedition, possibly against militia members who may have planned part of the siege in advance. Officials say they are also bolstering their investigations into the deaths of Capitol Hill police officer Brian Sicknick and rioter Ashley Babbitt.
Law enforcement, the Bureau, the U.S. Attorney's Office have devoted specialized teams to look at both the death of Officer Sicknick and also the death of Babbitt, who was killed in the Capitol as well. So with excessive force investigations.
Experts say prosecutors have some tough choices ahead as they round up suspects.
Do you allow people to cooperate? Do you try to use some of these insurrectionists against others? The biggest and most difficult decision the U.S. Attorney is going to have is what do they do about the people who didn't physically go into the Capitol, but who incited potentially this riot?
Meanwhile, the FBI still has not publicly identified who they're looking for in their investigation of the pipe bombs that were planted at Democratic and Republican Party headquarters on January 6th. A top FBI official saying today they're looking for tips from the public, and they have identified images of the person, including close-ups of the suspect's shoes. This comes as we get an extraordinary admission of failure regarding the January 6th attack from the acting chief of the Capitol Hill Police. During a closed-door briefing with Congress today, Chief Yogananda Pittman apologized that her department wasn't more prepared for the threat, saying in her prepared remarks, quote, "We knew that militia groups and white supremacist organizations would be attending. We also knew that some of these participants were intending to bring firearms and other weapons to the event. We knew that there was a strong potential for violence and that Congress was the target." This comes as sources tell CNN Capitol Hill police officers are debating whether to hold a no-confidence vote targeting Pittman and other department leaders. One source saying Pittman was the operational chief on January 6th, but didn't take control of the radio or command officers what to do.
A lot of people did drop the ball, and there has to be some accountability for that. But just let me say, this doesn't rest solely on the shoulders of the Capitol Police. I mean, there are other points of failure that need to be addressed. It's too much bureaucracy to make quick decisions. You got a sergeant at arms, a House and Senate, who failed to take action as well. Breakdown in intelligence.
Meanwhile, tonight, investigators are not limiting their arrest to those who were physically at the Capitol on January 6th. Authorities have announced the arrest of a man from California named Robert Lemke, who prosecutors say texted the brother of a congressman on January 6th with a threat saying, quote, "Your brother is putting your entire family at risk with his lies and other words. We are armed and nearby your house," end quote. Prosecutors say Lemke also sent a very similar text to the relative of a journalist. CNN has not been able to locate an attorney for Robert Lemke.
Crazy, isn't it? That, 400 people so far, 400 people case file's been open, and at the same time, the acting police chief has to sit there and say we weren't prepared. And it kind of dug me on that one. I'm saying, wait a minute, how does the acting one have to speak for the person that immediately resigned? Or I should say forcibly resigned, because Pelosi wanted their heads. So again, I always wondered that. It's like, how in the world do you turn around and sit there and speak for somebody who's not there? Because keep in mind, I said this before on previous podcasts, the National Guard, I mean, take that back. The Pentagon had reached out to the police chief and sat there and said, hey, we know these militia groups are in town. Do you require National Guard assistance? The police chief said no. On the day thereof, they asked again. It's like, do you require National Guard assistance? Again, they said no. And then even as the riot was happening from these white domestic terrorists, there was no call made to the National Guard. It actually was a time former Vice President Pence had to call out to National Guard, and 90 minutes later they showed up. So it amazes me so that the acting police chief, which they said was the operations chief at the time, it's amazing that you got to speak for your former boss because your boss was immediately resigned afterwards. There was no excuse. Now, does that mean that they lose the job? Well, possibly so. Everybody that agreed with that police chief that said that they did not need the proper protection for these individuals, yeah, they probably should go because that was a very big risk. And like I said before, if it wasn't for one officer inside the Capitol who didn't lure that mob away from the Senate, we don't know what could have happened. but I guarantee it would not have been good. But speaking of other things that are not been good, remember I told you about that one woman who actually was one of the white domestic terrorists that actually entered in the Senate and stole the laptop from Nancy Pelosi? Well, as of right now, they can't find it. They sat there and said that the laptop that belonged to the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has yet to be recovered. And at this point, this is for the same woman, that Riley Williams, keep in mind, I actually did mention her beforehand, single-handedly stole the laptop with the allegation that she wanted to sell it to Russia. Because the simple fact of the matter is that there is evidence that that she did work with others as far as trying to get the laptop, and that she did, quote unquote, had the laptop. But as of right now, they can't locate it. So at this point, it still could be alive. It still could be alive. It could still be around. There's no question of it being destroyed. But I just thought it was interesting that, again, this is the same woman that was running with sedition and everything else, but she was still allowed to go home, while Khalif Browder was not. But then again, why are we surprised? But moving right along, speaking of other things that are messed up, I actually reported this story about a year ago about an off-duty officer that tried to force his way into a black teen's home. Well, we actually have an update to that story.
Motherly instinct to protect my son. They weren't going to get past me to get to him.
Monica Shepard and her son Damien never expected to be greeted at their Pender County home with that scene Sunday night.
I was playing my video games as usual, and I hear a banging on the door.
Damien says he opened the door to find 15 people, some holding guns, including an off-duty deputy from the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office, all at his doorstep.
They came to my door saying they were looking for a missing girl. They were given my address and my name, and that they were going to come in and look for her.
Despite the graduation sign in the front yard clearly showing he had a different name, he says they kept pushing. Damien says he tried to tell them his name, holding his ground. That's when his mom jumped in.
And he stated it again, I'm just going to step inside and close the door and talk to you guys. And I said, no, you're not.
That's when Shepard says the deputy stuck his foot in the door, trying to push his way in.
I'm just like, my name is Damien, my name is Damien. You guys, I go to Laney High School, I graduated, my sign's on the lawn.
Finally, they say the group left and Shepard called the sheriff's office. That deputy, Jordan Kidda, now charged with trespassing and breaking and entering. Not only that, District Attorney Ben David announcing he's been terminated from the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office.
One thing that we absolutely make certain of is that anyone who's violating the law be treated the same.
We didn't want to rush to any hasty decisions. We wanted to make an informed decision. The situation was diffused, and we didn't feel like there was any further threat that evening.
Still shaken, Shepard says things could have ended much differently.
It didn't have to go that way, and just thankful that it turned out the way it did.
So that was actually the story, like I said before, that they were looking for apparently a missing girl, went to this young man who was doing by far the safest thing you can do, or at least I thought it was. The safest thing you can do is being in your house playing video games, because that's 9 times out of 10 what I'd be doing. But yeah, it's the simple fact of the matter is they were going to force their way into this young man's home because they believed that the missing teen was there. Even though all the signs were there. His name was literally on the front lawn. He was willing to give his name. But he did right. I said, I love the fact he said, well, I'm going to come in and take a look. Oh, no, you're not. Not without a warrant. And like I said before, I say this before, guys, because I've said this many a times. And I don't mean to point this out, but us black people are paralegals. We know the law better than sometimes law enforcement does. And no one can come into your home without a warrant. Not unless you allow them to. And the young man did right. He says, oh, you're not coming around. You're not coming in here. At the same time, his mom stepped in and said, oh, you're not coming in here. Because simple fact of the matter is, you have to turn around and prove the simple fact of the matter, whoever you're looking for is in here. And it is amazingly so that the off-duty officer, yes, he was terminated, and yes, they are actually suing for punitive damages that they will probably get. But again, this is why I say the whole point of it's just traumatizing, because now and I said this before, when it comes to black people, it's especially our kids. Our kids are traumatized because how they're being treated by law enforcement. That does stick with them. And I don't know anybody out there. Like I said before, every black person has a cop story. I said, you want to know the reason? I said, that just leads to more dissension between us and law enforcement. Because to this day, I still don't trust the police. They can come now. I mean, as far as they see me, they see a suspect. The day that an officer looks at me and doesn't see me as a suspect will be the day I actually start believing them. And that day will probably never happen. But again, happy that the young man still with us and still safe. And like his mom said, it could have went way worse. But I find it completely amazing that the police department was like, well, we didn't want to make hasty decisions on this. What was hasty about it? You literally had the wrong person. You try to force your way into a situation because you have a badge and you have people. And at the same time, the officer's in the wrong. Please, oh please, tell me what needs to be thoroughly investigated about that. But I digress. Another thing that happened was in Tacoma, Washington, where again, an officer is placed on administrative leave because apparently he decided to run over people. Just go ahead and give you guys a heads up. This is extremely graphic, so viewer discretion is advised.
Hit those people. Oh my God. Oh, oh my God. Stop. Holy oh my God. What?
Yeah, so as you guys can see from there, yes, it was a street racing, and yes, it was street racing. Let's just call it what it is. It's still illegal, no matter how you look at it. And so, as you can see, the police officer was, I guess, trying to get through the crowd, and then decided to take one good step back, and then decided to run over the crowd. That current officer right now is on administrative leave, saying that the officer's excuse, which was killing me, and the officer said that he feared for his safety and was trying to clear a crowded scene. That's what he said. I feared for my safety, and then he tried to back up, but was unable to do so due to the crowd. He hit at least one pedestrian trying to escape. While trying to extricate himself from an unsafe position, the officer drove forward, striking one individual and may have impacted others. May? The video looks like he's hit several, sir. But again, they said the officer has been placed on administrative leave, and then called for medical aid. Again, this is one of those things where I'm just going to sit there and say he was placed on paid administrative leave. So of course, I'm pretty sure wherever he is right now, he is safe and protected. And no telling, an untold number of people were injured that night. Two of them were actually, I think they said, hang on a second. Yeah. An unknown identified number of people were injured and taken to the hospital. And I'm thinking to myself, it had shades of Charlottesville, where again, it wasn't an officer, it was a guy in a Challenger that ran through a crowd of people and actually killed one person, injured many others. Now, again, the officer didn't have to back up. The officer didn't have to do anything but sit in the car. If he really felt threatened for his life, why didn't you just call for backup? What was the whole point of backing up if you couldn't get yourself out? They surrounded the car. You couldn't go forward because they're in front of you. Why not just put the car in park and call for backup from where you are? They can't get inside the police vehicle, and if they attack the vehicle, you kind of have a little bit of justification. But no, you decide to back up, gun it, and then run over the crowd. But we'll get into all that story. But like I said, one of the craziest things about police. You just can't make this up. Now, will we see? Now, I would like to say this person's going to see justice, but again, we will follow that story as it develops. Now, also some other news before we get to our feel-good segment. Joe Biden has introduced a Made in America plan. Now, I'm going to play a little bit of the video because it's a little bit over 10 minutes long. So I'm just going to get to the point to where he talks about it, and then we'll go from there.
This is an ABC News special report. Now reporting, Chief Anchor George Stephanopoulos.
Good afternoon. We're coming on the air right now because President Biden is about to hold a news conference where he is signing executive orders on his Buy America program.
Contain the pandemic and deliver economic relief to millions of Americans who need it the most. And today we're getting to work to rebuild the backbone of America, manufacturing, unions, the middle class. It's based on a simple premise that will reward work, not wealth in this country. And the key plank of ensuring the future will be made in America. I've long said that I don't accept the defeatist view that the forces of automation and globalization can keep union jobs from growing here in America. We can create more of them, not fewer of them. I don't buy for 1 second that the vitality of American manufacturing is a thing of the past. American manufacturing was the arsenal of democracy in World War II, and it must be part of the engine of American prosperity now. That means we're going to use taxpayers' money to rebuild America. We'll buy American products and support American jobs, union jobs. For example, the federal government every year spends approximately $600 billion in government procurement to keep the country going, safe and secure. And there's a law that's been in the books for almost a century now to make sure that that money, when spent, taxpayers' dollars for procurement, is spent to support American jobs and American businesses. But the previous administration didn't take it seriously enough. Federal agencies waived the Buy American requirement without much pushback at all. Big corporations and special interests have long fought for loopholes to redirect American taxpayers' dollars to foreign companies for the products that are being made. The result, tens of billions of American taxpayers' dollars supporting foreign jobs and foreign industries. In 2018 alone, the department spent $3 billion, the Defense Department, on foreign construction contracts, leaving American steel and iron out in the cold. It spent nearly $300 million in foreign engines and on vehicles instead of buying American vehicles and engines from American companies, putting Americans to work. Under the previous administration, the federal government contract awarded directly to foreign companies went up 30%. That is going to change on our watch. Today, I'm taking the first steps in my larger Build Back Better recovery plan that invests in American workers, unions, and businesses up and down the supply chain. And I know that previous presidents entered office by promising to buy America and instituting the Buy American policy. But here's why this is different and not the same. I'll be signing an executive order in just a moment, tightening the existing Buy American policies and go further. We're setting clear directives and clear explanations. We're going to go to the core issue with a centralized, coordinated effort. Look, today, I'm creating a director of Made in America at the White House Office of Management and Budget, who will oversee our All of Government Made in America initiative. That starts with stopping federal agencies from waiving Buy American requirements with impunity, as has been going on. If an agency wants to issue a waiver to say we're not going to buy an American product as part of this project, we're going to buy a foreign product, they have to come to the White House and explain it to us. We're going to require that waivers be publicly posted. That is, someone's seeking a waiver to build this particular vehicle or facility, and it's going to buy the following foreign parts. That waiver, the request for it's going to be posted. Then we'll work with small American manufacturers and businesses to give them a shot to raise their hand and say, yeah, I can do that here in my shop, in my town. It's about, as you heard me say before, I used to have a friend who was a great athlete who said, you got to know how to know. These small businesses don't even know they can compete for making the product that is attempting to be waived and be able to be bought abroad. And I'm directing the Office of Management and Budget to review waivers to make sure they are only used in very limited circumstances. For example, when there's an overwhelming national security, humanitarian, or emergency need here in America. This hasn't happened before. It will happen now. Here's what else we're going to be doing. Under the Build Back Better recovery plan, we'll invest hundreds of billions of dollars in buying American products and materials to modernize our infrastructure, and our competitive strength will increase in a competitive world. That means millions of good-paying jobs using American-made steel and technology to rebuild our roads, our bridges, our ports, and to make them more climate resilient, as well as make them able to move faster and cheaper and cleaner to transport American-made goods across the country and around the world, making us more competitive.
Okay, we're gonna cut off right there because, like I said before, I want to get to a little bit of it. So he is basically calling a Made in America office in which he is trying to rebuild American infrastructure by offering a lot of tax credits to those that are actually making products in America, and also taxing those heavy who decide to actually go outside of America. It's ambitious, I'll give him that. It's not the first time we've actually done this. Keep in mind, there's still a little bit of an issue with China, with us in China right now. Reason being, the actual tariff plan that Dorito had installed with us against China is still in place. So that hasn't been removed as of yet, as you can tell from the increased pricing, because let's be honest, China makes 90% of everything that we use here in the U.S., and a U.S. doesn't really have a lot of in-office things. Now, another part of Made in America is it's actually going to start doing grants for small businesses who are actually going to be producing a lot of the things that we usually get overseas to actually happen in America. It's an ambitious plan. I'm kind of curious to see what they do with it. Because, again, this is all about trying to grow infrastructure and new business in the U.S. and trying to make us less dependent on foreign exports. So it's a toss-up. It can go either way, really, about this. But again, I would not be surprised. But moving right along, like I said, we'll follow that up as more information comes out about the Made in America. I just thought it was funny that they literally and figuratively called it Made in America. America. Anyway, another thing I want to point out is that the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, sat there and said that student debt relief will be a priority. He did sit there and agree that of course, you probably heard this number said a lot around student debts, was that Biden talked about between either forgiving student debt altogether or at least forgiving at least $10,000 of student debt per borrower. And then, but again, Mr. Secretary has sat there and said that he does like the idea of canceling $10,000 of student debt per borrower. And he said that working with our senators and our Congress folks to support a plan that will provide some relief to our students in higher education. Here's the problem. $10,000 is a nice number, but your average person that has student debt has well over $50,000 in debt. Now, again, like I said, even if you're going, and that's not even the non-medical side. For those that are actually on the medical field, that's double. I mean, think about it. Your average nurse may be up to $80,000 in student loans. Doctors over $100,000. So, again, $10,000 of student loan forgiveness doesn't exactly equate to relief. Like for a lot of people, student debt is definitely harmful, especially on your credit scores, because of the debt to income ratio. If you have, for example, $90,000 of debt, it is going to impact a lot of things you try to go for, whether it's cars, whether it's homes, whether it's just even jobs. Because yes, jobs check your credit too. So especially in jobs where if they see a whole bunch of debt, they will consider you high risk, and chances are probably won't even hire you. So the whole idea, like I said before, Bernie Sanders, because if you haven't noticed, a lot of Bernie Sanders is what he wants to do is actually being implemented. For example, Bernie Sanders said at the beginning of this pandemic, beginning of this pandemic, he sat there and said, when jobs were lost and everything else of that nature, he sat there and said, put simple fact of the matter, that every American should get $2,000 a month until this pandemic is over. Now, a whole bunch of arguing and things of that nature, and look what actually happens. We start getting stimuluses. Maybe not on time. We had a $1,200, then a $600. and now we're eventually going to get a 1,400. But again, they should have been continuous. And if they were continuous, it would have been a different story. But again, Bernie called it. Bernie also sat there and said that we need to forgive student debt, the student loan, the student college debt, which again, for student loans, it's now over 1.6 trillion. And a lot of people, especially Republicans, are sitting there saying, "Oh, well, that's too much." Really? We just passed a $2 trillion bill not too long ago that gave the rich people more money. And that was well over 2 trillion. And I didn't see any Republican barking at that. But, giving that same type of relief to your average student debt borrower, oh, we can't do that. That means a whole lot of people's credit profiles will go up. That means that we can't hold this over their heads. Because let's be honest, even in some people's time, even some people's lifetimes, they never really do get to pay off their student debts. Not unless they, fall into money, win the Powerball, or just, finally find that job that pays all that off. So why not go ahead and forget the student loan debt? We have the money to do so. If we can give the Pentagon another $2 trillion when they can account for the last trillion they spent over the last 10 years, you're telling me that we can't spend 1.7 to forgive everybody's student debt? Again, you can, and I said this before, and this is the argument I make with most people who are economists. If you forgive the student debt, you will basically raise the credit portfolios of everybody that has student debt, which then will increase their spending, which then increases the economy because we're running on a capitalist society. But again, it's like I get the sentiment. I get the sentiment of the $2,000, of the 10 grand. It's just that when you have 40 or more in student loan debt, 10 grand doesn't really do a lot. Just being honest. But again, we'll follow that story as it develops. I still hope that, we will remind Joe Biden and we will remind Mrs. Harris, say, hey, y'all said y'all were up for complete student loan forgiveness and don't keep it done. And at the same time, we did vote for you to be in there to do those things. We haven't forgot. Also, another thing which I thought was interesting before we get to our feel good news segment is that you guys remember the story of Harriet Tubman being on the face of the $20 bill and how quickly they killed it because it was a black woman and they didn't want to be reminded, and white America didn't want to be reminded of its previous history of owning slaves and pretty much using us for manual labor for them to get ahead 400 years? Yeah, that. So the new Department of the Treasury has decided they want to bring that back.
The department is working to put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. The Civil War era abolitionist leader would replace President Andrew Jackson. It was confirmed by White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki on Monday. She said, quote, "It's important that our notes, our money, reflect the history and diversity of our country." The move was originally put on hold by the Trump administration after being introduced by President Obama. Officials say it could still take a few years to be.
Now, I really wanted to ask that question. Because, again, it's not like you can't. They keep on saying it could take a few years. Why? I mean, it's amazing they say we want our currency to reflect our history. Well, if we're going to go that way, shouldn't most of the presidents be off these bills? I mean, shouldn't we have some Civil War? I said, should we have some civil rights leaders? Shouldn't we have those that were from? Should we have a Susan B. Anthony? Shouldn't we have a Thurgood Marshall? Shouldn't we have Harvey Milk? I mean, if you're going to sit there and say that our money should reflect certain historical steps in history, get rid of the white people, especially Andrew Jackson, because let's be honest, you can't. I mean, Andrew Jackson, that's one of the ones that can go considering his history and hatred with Native Americans. History. And I always say this about history. They always want to whitewash history. Like they want to forget that, yes, white people used to own slaves. And it's almost like they don't want us to forget that mess. It's like they want us to there and say, oh, it didn't happen. It was so long ago. No, because the civil rights era was still 60 years ago. We're not too far off from that. So again, it's amazing to me that, like I said before, it takes so long just to get one individual on a single thing of currency. And trust me, once Harriet Tubman gets on that $20 bill, I hope it takes sooner. I hope it gets there sooner than later. That'll be the first $20 bill that I will literally go get framed. And I can sit there and say, I have a piece of history. But anyway, but that's really all that we got, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and go to our one story for our feel good segment because we definitely need it. Like I say with our feel good segment, usually this is done on the weekends because we're now starting to do this on Wednesdays as well. We're looking forward to our Friday Eve or Thursdays, and this one actually, like I said before, it's Black Excellence because if I ever do have children and they have daughters, I am definitely putting them in gymnastics because it's a wonderful field of great athletes, and I hope my daughters will basically be like this person.
She has done it again. UCLA gymnast Nia Dennis, who went viral last year for her Beyonce-inspired floor routine, almost nailed a perfect 10 yesterday with her latest ode to Black culture. In gymnastics, a sport where only 9% of the Division I gymnasts are Black, Nia shows that being unapologetically yourself can serve as your superpower. After sticking the landing one final time, 21-year-old Nia Dennis clinched a victory and then went viral. And it wasn't just her nearly flawless floor routine that has everyone talking. This UCLA gymnast performance, dubbed Black Excellence, has been viewed more than 7 million times, likely because of her own distinct twist or flavor coupled with her music selections. From Kendrick to Tupac, Megan Thee Stallion to Missy Elliott, Dennis's floor routine has resonated as a proud display of Black culture in a predominantly white sport.
In essence, what she did was she took us through different generations of Black hip-hop music, and that also felt kind of special.
Musician Missy Elliott calling her routine snappin', and fellow gymnast and Olympic medalist Simone Biles sending her this message complete with fire emoji. With her stepping, sea-walking, and even cranking the Soulja Boy, the undefeated's Kelly Carter says that Nia is showing future women in gymnastics that they can bring their full selves to the floor and win big because of it.
I guarantee you there are little brown girls everywhere who are looking at that routine that she did and saying, I probably can do something like that too, all because of what Nia did, and I think that's really special.
Special indeed.
Yep, it was special. Like I said, I was thinking about Kelly. I said, Kelly, if we have kids and we have girls, they go in gymnastics. Because again, representation matters, guys. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that, and I don't want to take it away from her because just like Simone Biles, just like Dominique Dawes, there is a history there of Black women in gymnastics, and they do it rather well. So I just want to show her off because she definitely deserves her spotlight in that. But before I do get out of here, guys, I do have some shameless plugging I need to do, and I need to start with a few people that I would want to say thank you for everybody that watched, that liked, that shared, that started watch parties. I certainly appreciate that because I'm still trying to grow this podcast to reach as many people as humanly possible, to let them know exactly what I'm trying to do, and hopefully to believe in the message I'm trying to send out. But again, thank you all who are doing that, and also tell my buddy who's like, ha. Wow, that my tongue just doesn't want to work right now. I apologize. But let me start with my buddy Vaughn, Big BZA on Facebook, who will be returning this back very soon with his podcast because he is definitely very well missed. So I'll definitely start with a few of his shows. You can definitely go to his Facebook at Big BZA and go to a few of his podcasts. The first one, the VST Intercast, which is a news podcast. The news can be music, video games, or trailers. I call him the King of Weird Trailers just because he shows some interesting things that also can sometimes be funny, sometimes entertaining. Interactive show just like mine, as you can see the comments on the side, so definitely take a look there. He also has another one called RAF. What is RAF? Well, because it's a family show, I can't really say what it is, but I will say it's an entertainment podcast. Do you like World Star? Do you like America's Funniest Home Videos? Do you just like watching people just do some dumb stuff and you need something to laugh at? Well, that's what RAF is about because it always does to a certain theme. So definitely check that out. But it definitely is definitely not bring your kids moment because it's sometimes it can be very adult themed. His other podcast, which I'm hoping will be coming back very soon, will be the Rhythmness Music Podcast, where you can reminisce over the rhythm in which he goes over albums. Sometimes he brings the music, sometimes we're asked to bring the music, but we do listen to him, and it basically gives our opinion on that. We're all different on the musical scale, but hey, differences of opinion lead to great taste and conversations, and that's what the Rhythmness Music Podcast is about, because if it wasn't for Vaughn, there's a lot of artists I would not know about, and I'm thankful that he was able to bring that around to me. His other one is more of a pop-up show called Fonkin' Around, as he makes beats like this. And he usually makes beats like this because Vaughn is a beat maker. Hopefully he'll be dipping back into the pool to go ahead and be able to get back to his professional sides, but he loves to show his creation from beginning to end, and that's what Fonkin Around is about. Definitely look that up on Facebook under Big BZA Dot, and also under his social medias, as he will be returning back with live podcasts soon, and I, for one, cannot wait. Also, do you like custom apparel? Do you actually have an idea for a t-shirt, a hat, a cup, a mug? Well, basically, if you have any ideas, you can go to Little Creations by Kelly, because as you can see here, that's actually ran by Kelly, and this is just a little bit of her merchandise that she does. You know, if you believe in having Christmas shirts with the family, if you're into that type of thing, or the other shirt here, which she did for me, called Lock Life, because again, they're locks and not dreadlocks. Man down, or just your regular Christmas shirts, she can definitely do that. If you have a birthday party for some badass kids, you can actually do some shirts for them as well as just certain things, or even masks, because let's be honest, mask is a big thing now. Without a mask, or if you have a business that wants you off mask, you can definitely do that, because that's just some of her handiwork. And also these aprons down here that she's done as well, all by hand, all by love. So again, I'm always about promoting businesses, especially black businesses, and trust me, this is a person that stands behind her work. So if you are looking for custom work to be done, or you have an idea that's reasonable and can be done, then definitely look up Little Creations by Kelly on Facebook, and she'll be able to get you taken care of from there. And also, guys, it's January 27th. What I mean by that is we're not too far off. We're not too far off from the day they expect something. Let's be honest. Valentine's Day is coming up. And with Valentine's Day, every woman is expecting something. Don't think because they ain't said nothing to you that they ain't expecting nothing. And if you're one of those people that has to wait till last minute, or if you like planning ahead, well, Tanya's Touch of Elegance, also another business that I love to promote, because I've had her cooking and it's adorable and it's delectable, and I have to stop eating it because it's gonna work against my workouts. But anyway, she has a Valentine's Day special that I'll allow her to speak for herself on.
Hi, I'm Tanya with Tanya's Touch of Elegance. And during this COVID time, trying to stay safe, we are going to present a Valentine's Day special for two. I'm going to present this video, and you just give me a call or text me at the end of the video and let me know if you're interested, and we can have a dinner for two delivered to you. I will have the prices forthcoming by the end of the week, but just a little something to pique your interest.
See there, guys, if you are interested in actually ordering a Valentine's Day special, definitely get those in, whether you can look her up, Tanya's Touch of Elegance, on Facebook Messenger, or the number that you do see there on the screen. So definitely take advantage of that, because those packages are definitely going to be limited, and once they are gone, you, my friend, are crap out of luck, or you better hope to God that Walgreens has something, because let's be honest, it's going to be the only thing open left. So, and I just hiccuped. I apologize. Let's try it again. So, again, that was Tanya's Touch of Elegance. So, again, that Valentine's Day special is live and going. So, if you do want to take advantage of that, definitely look her up, and especially with the number there, or reach out to Tanya's Touch of Elegance on Facebook Messenger and go from there. Now, The last couple things I got for myself, really, because I always like to promote myself as the last person. I am starting a travel service. What is that travel service called? Well, because I've been called by this name by my nieces and nephews, I might as well make it my business. It is Uncle Obi's Adventures and More. Yes, I am dipping my toe into the travel field. You want to go somewhere? Let me know about it. Do you need to book a hotel? Let me know about it. Do you want to book a car? Let me know about it. You got a cruise you want to go somewhere? Let me know about it. Because chances are I can kind of get you a better deal than Expedia, than Hotels.com, and all those other sites that will do nothing more than put you in a place that you don't want to be. Let your Uncle Obi take care of you. Because at this point, I know I can do better than them. And actually, because I am starting this, guys, I will actually have a contest that will be going on next month for referrals. Once I work out the details, which actually I will do on my Saturday podcast, I'll explain how the contest works. Because because everybody loves money. And actually, to sweeten the pot, I will tell you this. It is a referral contest I'll be doing, and I'm not going to say the amount yet or how it works, but if you'll tune in on Saturday on How the Frack We Got Here, I will definitely go over that. But for all those that just want to see what I can do, or just, you have questions, or just if, for example, you want to go on a cruise, or just you want to go just out town, or do a vacation, or staycation, or whatever it's called, let me take care of that for you, because we just don't sell travel, we sell adventures. And that's what we try to do here at Uncle Obi's. Now, aside from that, guys, like I said before, my podcast schedule has changed a little bit. Of course, every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m., I do the Burned Out podcast, which is my storytelling podcast, in which I tell about the IT side of dealing with the public. So if you've worked in customer service, you've worked in retail, you've worked with the public in general, and you have some special cases, then this podcast is going to be for you, because it's supposed to be an entertaining podcast. So if you find it funny, I've done my job. If you don't find it funny, then I'm talking about you. You need to lighten up anyway. Of course, every Wednesday from 8 to 10 p.m. will be the How the Frack We Got Here midweek edition, in which, as you're seeing now, we go over news that we have. Of course, we will be doing the weekend recap every Saturday between 10 a.m. to noon. And of course, always give you the informative side, not trying to persuade you or change your mind, just informing you and allow you to make up your own mind. Also on Saturday between 8 to 10 p.m. will be the Off Limits podcast, the podcast that definitely goes there. And I do mean go there because, as you guys have seen, we have no problem talking about certain subjects, especially subjects that sometimes are funny, sometimes are serious, but we talk about them, simply put, because we want to basically be able to sit there and say, we want to remove the taboo of not talking about something, simply put, because they might find it off-putting or it's rude or anything about that. We're just simply trying to move forward, and that's what the Off Limits podcast is all about. And I completely almost forgot the other one too, so let me go back a day to Friday. Friday will now be the new home of Get Bit, as far as Get Bit coming live between 8 to 10 p.m. Get Bit is my blurred podcast in which I cover video games, I cover anime, superhero television, movies, and anything pop culture, really, especially comics and especially wrestling, because it's still real to a lot of us. And this definitely we'll start this Friday night. Like I said before, it's just covering a lot of things. We do have some Marvel Disney news. We will be having a review of Second Chance Gaming, of Cyberpunk 2077, and a whole bunch of other things that we did cover, which we'll now do on Friday nights. So, with that being said, all of my shows have Facebook and YouTube pages. If you actually look at the link at the bottom and copy and paste it into your browser, it will actually take you to the How the Frack We Got Here YouTube page. But whether on YouTube or on Facebook, you can look up the podcast by their names: The Burned Out Podcast, How the Frack We Got Here, the Off Limits Podcast, and Get Bit, that is GITBIT, to see every podcast that I've done this far. And also Uncle Obi's Adventures and More, which is my travel pages, also on Facebook as well. Definitely look that up. And like I said, I will have a contest going. I'll have a month-long contest starting up very soon. So definitely be tuned in to How the Frack We Got Here this Saturday, as I will give information on how the contest will work. And like I said, if you want to win easy money, then this is going to be up your alley. But aside from that, guys, the last thing I'll say about this is COVID-19 is still real. Please wear a mask. Please do social distancing. Please only go out if you have to. Please avoid large crowds if you can. Just because ICU capacity across the country is less than 6%. We are now well over 400,000 plus deaths. Let's actually try to look out for each other and try to take care of each other. And again, if you are sick, please seek medical attention as soon as possible. Please do not wait. Please do not treat it as anything less than that, because we have seen too many people gone from COVID-19. So please, oh please, take care of yourself, and that's how we take care of each other. Aside from that, if you're a nurse, a doctor, nurse's aide, doctor's aide, environmental people, or anybody that works in the hospital that's listening to this podcast, first and foremost, thank you. It's not said enough that you guys are the real MVPs, right next to teachers teaching remote, to first responders. You guys have literally done more than most people have done, now going on a year plus. If I were y'all, I'd be looking at Biden and Harris and being like, okay, y'all need to clear us out completely of student debt loans. But again, thank you all for that you do, because as much as we want to do more, I know from the average citizen, I always say thank you for your service. And also you essential people as well. And I know it's essential worker is such a derogatory term, but I want to thank you people. I want to thank you people that work in fast food, that work in retail, that work in customer service, that work in gas stations, grocery stores, that are truck drivers, those who work in warehouses like Amazon, and those who work in logistics like the United States Postal Service, UPS, FedEx, and DHL, just because a lot of us are able to work from home, and that's great, but a lot of us don't have that same option or luxury. So we definitely want to thank those that are definitely trying to keep themselves safe while keeping the lights on for the rest of us. So, ooh, that was a lot. So beyond that, guys, like I said, I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you all who commented, who liked, and everything else. And if you like what I did, please let me know. If you didn't like what I did, please let me know. I'm just trying to make the platform better for everybody to enjoy it. Aside from that, guys, like I said, we look forward, as tomorrow is Thursday, and let's try to make every day better. The best way I can say it, because on How the Frack we got here, it's all about staying informed. We're not trying to change minds. We're not trying to persuade you. We're trying to do what television stations used to do of old, which is just inform you with all the facts and allow you to make up your own mind. And from there, an informed society can make a lot better decisions than an uninformed one, because an uninformed one got us Trump, an informed one got us Biden and Harris, and our first black Madam Vice President, which I can honestly say that with so much pride. Aside from that, guys, thank you all for watching. This has been fun. I'm out. Take care of each other.